A big part of my career has been looking at the therapeutic value of the 12 steps because the 12 steps really have harnessed some powerful psychological forces that creates an amazing change in our life. What is that change? Well, the truth is that the 12 steps are engineered to help us achieve emotional sobriety, to achieve true independence of spirit, to achieve autonomy, to learn how to take care of ourselves. These are things that we don't know. Emotional sobriety really helps us learn how to have a healthy relationship, how to have union with the preservation of our integrity, how to cooperate with integrity. Most of us get lost in our relationships. Most of us do a lot of things we don't want to do. We don't really know how to show up in a good way. Emotional sobriety is about learning to have healthy relationships.
Welcome, Tom. Thank you for taking
Hey.
the lead this week. And good to see you, my friend.
Hey, do you hurt?
Yes.
No, I'm serious. Are you in pain? Yeah.
Yeah. The radiating pain that was the cause of my problem is almost gone. The pain in the neck, which I usually have to other people, is back to me. I got the incision in the front where they went in. That's very sore. So
yeah.
I'm on big boy food. I can eat solid foods now, which is good.
Good.
That's good.
I was able to take a shower by myself, so I'm moving into, like, I don't know what stage of adolescence that is, but yeah.
No, you talk about sore though. I mean, when you think about the trauma your body's been through with this surgery. It's like my wife had back surgery last year, and it's like it fixed exactly what they went in there to fix, but they also opened her up and cut through muscles and all this other stuff. It takes some time to recover from that. So
yeah, certainly does.
I hope your pain subsides quickly.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Take it away.
That was me. That was already me taking it away. I was just taking it away. It's that's it. Novel solutions. I thought that's a good one for me. Is so because we're going to do this, I decided to reread the chapter, and I did that, and I noticed I'm taken by the first sentence. I often repeat the adage, the problem is never the problem. I mean, does that mean Alan walks around repeating it to himself? I mean, what is it? He often repeats it. It's like that's kind of, and it says never. Is the problem never the problem? I mean, could the problem sometimes be the problem? Or maybe the problem is part of the problem, or maybe the problem was mailed to the wrong address, and so it's not our problem, but it's a problem. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. So beware of Alan's never, and let's all together join together and witness and see if we notice that he repeats this a lot. Maybe muttering to himself, perhaps. I mean, he's saying something when he's muttering to himself, but I never thought it was that. So we'll check that out. Okay, well, now we got that taken care of. Novel solution. I don't think this is part of the chapter, but just the title of the chapter makes me want to cover this little tidbit, which is as we do this work together, and as we come in and we do our presentations here, and we do our sharing and everything. It's like well, I'll say the solution is never the solution is never the solution, or the solution is never everybody's solution. It's like what I want to this is just a pitch for individuality. If take whatever you learn from this up. Take what's helpful, leave what's not. But really take it in and make it your own. Pay attention to what really helps you, what works, what adjustments you make on that stuff. It's like when we talk about daily practice, I mean, every one of our daily practices should be tailored specifically to us. So that I just want to say that, and it's yeah, it's the when I'm quiet, it means too many people are talking at the same time. It's not I'm not blank. It's sort of like the Three Stooges trying to get out of the door at the same time. They get stuck. But um yeah, before I jump into the chapter, I just reminded myself um, um, of an exercise. I was thinking about it this afternoon with client. I didn't give it to the client, but I thought about it, and now I'm thinking about it again. And it's a list. It's for anybody who writes things down, which I think is a very powerful, important thing to do. I used to apologize for asking clients or suggesting clients journal, and because I got to the place where I really thought, well, maybe that's just because I'm a writer and I'm kind of putting that on somebody else. But I but what I found is so many people through the years who don't consider themselves naturally writers um, have benefited from journaling. I mean, I always tell people, if you want to save money in therapy, journal, because every time you sit down with your journal, that's a therapy session. I mean, anybody who does this, it. You start, I'm gonna make a couple of notes here. A little bit later, sometimes it may not be a long time, but sometimes it is. You get to the end, and I don't think I'm alone in this experience. The writing process has taken me from point A to somewhere, to somewhere other than point A, and it's like, and I really do think it benefits our personal growth just to go and do that. But one of the things I ask people to do, or suggest people do in their journals, is keep certain lists and these are lists that you put somewhere, you mark it with a paper clip or something, so you can go back to it and add to these lists. I'm going to tell you about. Like I say, I'm going to go more specific to the chapter here in a minute, but I'm going to give you two examples of those lists. One is one I've been given for years and years and years. I just call it what works. And here's the rule: nothing gets on this list until you actually used it in practice and it's worked. Okay. So in other words, if I give you an idea and you think, wow, that's a great idea, you don't go write it down on your list of what works. That's cheating. It's like you have to go out and use it at least one time, it works, and it goes in. And that's when I'm going to get to the point about that in a minute, because you're going to do that, and so everything on this list will have worked at least one time. Okay. So one of the things is this list gets longer, and here's the thing about forgetting human beings. It's like, I mean, and most of these assignments are, I make up for myself, because it's like, we'll have a problem, we find a solution, we exercise that and solve the problem, and then we forget, and then we have another problem that's very similar, and we go looking for a whole new solution. It's like, rather than, wait a minute. So my idea is, as you move on down the road in your recovery, when you get into places where you feel stumped, where you feel stuck, needs somebody in here. Okay, there you go. Go look at your list of what works, and I can guarantee you, once you have a bit of a list, it's gonna be a confrontation of sorts, because if you have several things on that list, and you're having a rough time, kind of settling with something, you're going to find something on that list that you've done before that helped, and you're not doing. And so it's sort of like this little self-confrontation where you say, well, okay, well, why are you not doing that? Or why don't you get busy doing it? So that's one list. The other list is a list that one of my clients, not original to me. This is a list my client started doing years ago, and it's one of my eating disorder clients, and she keeps a list of impossibles. And what impossibles are things that she wants and this you have to be really honest with yourself here. Not things that you think would be difficult. These are things that you once thought were impossible. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull that off. And then you find yourself down the road and you've done that. It's like, and so you've done the impossible. If you just use hindsight, you look back, you can go ahead and recognize how many impossible things you've already done. But it's very important. There's always going to be new impossible things that I'm going to come across. I'm going to go like, no, there's no way that's ever going to happen. So, and again, it doesn't go on the list until I actually have accomplished that. But once I have that, and my client who keeps this list, she has, the last I know, I can't remember exactly, but it was 80 something things on her list. You know, this is a long list of impossible shit that she's done. And again, it's when you're needing a little pep talk to yourself, it's a wonderful list to be able to go back to. Okay, so that's my pitch on make this stuff your own and use your journal. I like this chapter. I like the book, but excuse me, I'm choking. You know, Alan makes a point in the very beginning of the chapter that basically is when he actually is explaining what he means by the problem's not the problem, is, you know, that it's our he says how we're coping with the problem. What I would say, if we go back to the little thing I did not long ago, that I'm now referring to, because some other clients start referring to it that way, as EIEIO, which is the flow chart that is event happens. They're using the first letter event, and then there's an interpretation of the event that creates emotion, and then there's an interpretation of the emotion that precedes expression and then outcome. So if you get the acronym of that, it is in fact accidentally, I like it, EIEIO. So I'll go back to that for a second, because basically what you have in that picture, and I've always just draw pictures in the air. It's like, so there's the word emotion, and forget about the whole, you don't have to have the whole thing. Just the word emotion is here, and interpretation is on both sides of the word. Okay. And I'm going to interpret the event that happened. And this is basically how I'm going to frame it, how I'm going to, the story I'm going to tell myself with this event. And then, and it's very automatic. We're not going through any conscious process where something happens, you know, somebody cuts me off in traffic and I go, okay, I need to take a moment. I pull over, you know, I always pull over when I'm going to be interpreting, you know, so no, I don't do that. It's like, but this is, when you're troubleshooting, you'll go back and see this, but this is how you frame it. And then then you have an emotion. And then the second interpretation is basically has to do with your beliefs about emotions. I mean, we could do a whole section on how we treat different emotions differently. We are kinder to some emotions than others. There are some emotions we're just simply more comfortable with, and I don't mean you like them. It just means you're more comfortable with them. Which usually means not so much you like them as you've spent a lot of time with them. You know, for me, fear would be one of those that I would say is comfortable. When I say comfortable, I don't mean, this is the life, I love it, you know. It's basically, it feels less so progressively, but it has felt in my life like home. You know, it's my baseline. So we have that. Some people it's kind of interesting, because if you think about it, I think, I'm not sure this is right, but I'm making this up and telling everybody that it's right, and we'll see if it turns out to be. I think we all have a lead emotion, like we're right-handed or left-handed, you know. And I think, like, for instance, my lead emotion I would definitely say is anger. That's the reflex. It's a defense. It's anger, and I you know, and basically I was talking to my wife about this earlier about, you know, just we were talking about the days in which I was just truly a hothead, you know, and so it's like where that's as far as I was getting with my feelings was the anger, you know, repeatedly. Whereas somebody else, she, I think, would identify her lead emotion as fear, you know, is that she starts to hear that voice that tells, you know, that inner prophet that tells you everything that could possibly go wrong. You know, by the way, the inner prophet who's never fucking right, but when it speaks, we go, what is it? You know, we listen so carefully, and it's basically, you know, I just ask people, it's like, now if your prophet is cheating, you know, it can say stuff like something bad's going to happen. You go, come on, that's, you know, that's easy. But I think about the things that I have been afraid of, and I think about the things that I have worried because that fear-based prophet in my head told me to worry about it. It's like it's like other things may happen, something may happen, but it's not that. You know, I mean, I actually have a friend of mine he has to talk about a different frame on it. He says that he knows for sure that worry works. And you ask him how that is, and he says, because everything I worry about never happens. It's like this is like I have a client in who lives on the island of Bermuda who swears that she has the power to stop hurricanes because it's the same theory. She says, if I go out when there's a prediction of a hurricane, if I go out and to the store and get all the things I need to prepare for the hurricane, you know, all the things for my house and all the food and everything, if I am fully prepared for the hurricane will not hit. So she says if people just would be encouraging her to go out and prepare, because that is exactly what's going to keep the hurricane away. So who am I to argue? I mean, you know, she's managed to live in Bermuda. You know, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. So who knows? Okay, but the main thing I want to make about the point about this is what we can and cannot. Everything comes down to the Serenity Prayer. Right? I mean, that's just. I mean, and I'll be interested in Roger your point of view when we get to that. It's like I just think you could always take it back to the Serenity Prayer because it's all about energy efficiency, and it's about and the wisdom is basically part of wisdom is really determining, you know, where can I actually have an influence and where can I not? And you know, and the Serenity Prayer is this energy efficient principle that says we need to divest our energy from things that we are doing right now that we don't have a chance in hell of changing. And we need to invest that energy into something usually quite simple that we can do that can make a difference. It may not make a difference in the whole world, but it can make a difference in how I'm viewing a situation, how I'm looking at it, and or how, you know, how I'm going to cope with it, like Alan talks about. So, but with the little word emotion and interpretation of both sides, to me, that's those little eyes. Those are the things that we can do. Those are the things that we and this is, you know, I've been a therapist for a long time, and so it's, you know, I'm used to people expecting therapy to be, you know, if we're doing a parody of therapy, it's, you know, like you're telling me about stuff, and I say, well, you know, how do you feel? How does that feel? And, you know, and you say, well, you know, I don't like it. And I say, no, that's a thought. Now, what do you feel? You know, get into your feelings. So do all that stuff. And we do. And I get into the emotion of it. You get into the physical sense of it, where it is, all of that. However, that's not what we're talking about now. What I'm talking about is during that time of my career, you know, getting everybody always in their feelings. I began to value less the power of the left brain. You know, we need our left brain. Alan in the chapter talks about the two modes of thought. You know, when it's basically left brain and right brain, and it's like we need that smart, you know, logical, you know, technical part of our mind, because a lot of our recovery is problem solving. And it's and the main thing I tend to direct the people I'm talking to in therapy and stuff is like, we all get this problem solving, but I think the thing that emotional sobriety changes for us is we redirect, like those little eyes in the flow chart. We redirect where we're actually putting that energy, so that what I'm doing is I'm solving problems that I discover within myself. You know, I'm not trying to solve a problem, you know, because, you know, Potash is doing this or that, or somebody else is doing it. I need to get them to be different. It's like, you know, maybe, you know, maybe I'm right about some of that stuff, but what I know that makes a difference in my life is when I have the insights I have are about me and about how I respond to situations habitually or long term. And, you know, and if those ways of interpreting it and those ways of expressing myself are not effective, then, you know, that goes back to Bill's letter. It's like, when we're in distress, look and find out. And I love that part of the letter. If you look, you will find unrealistic expectations. He doesn't, I love this. He doesn't say, look and see if you find unrealistic expectations. And I'm a big believer, like, you know, like I'll jump on a never, you know, every time, like I did, you know, playing with Alan's thing but Bill Wilson says, if you're in distress, you look, you're going to find unrealistic expectation. And unless Roger comes on here and proves me wrong, it's like I think that's just true. It's like there's unrealistic expectations, and I've practiced that for a long time now, just looking at that and realize, and sometimes it's quite simple. I mean, sometimes it is really as simple as you know, my expectation. You know, my expectation is that the world will you know, act the way I want it to act. And somebody can, you know, but see, people get confused. They go, well, how did you know you expected that? I go, because I'm upset. Is the reason. It's not like I don't have the thought that says, I don't walk around, you know, saying I think the world should adhere to my demands and my wishes. But it's like we're talking about unconscious expectations, and the way you basically bring them out is by paying attention to, you know, the sort of the internal intrapersonal weather. And when I'm upset, it's like asking the question, what, you know, and it's not even what is the unrealistic expectation. It is, what is an unrealistic expectation I'm having. Just dive in and start someplace. It's like, it's probably, you know, we're going to be works in progress the whole time with this. And all right, because I want to leave some time here, but it's like, let me see what I got. A couple more things I want to talk about. It's like, okay, one thing I want to say is novel solutions, finding your own way, finding what works for you. Always, I mean, hell, recovery always. Now I'm doing the always and never, but always involves a lot of letting go. You know, and I'm not suggesting, you know, I got 117 participants here. I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of 117 would acknowledge, you know, not good at letting go. You know, two things I want to do about letting go. One is just say, it's not a one-time thing. I don't say I let something go, and then a minute later I'm upset or still feeling bad, and I go, well, I don't know why I'm that way, because I let it go. It's like, no, I didn't. It's like, or I did, and I picked it back up. It's sort of like, okay, I got this yo-yo. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it right. I'm going to let it go. And now that I've let it go, I don't have it anymore. Oh, never mind. It's like, and that's going to work that way. And I'm going to go back and forth, pick it up over here, do that. and rather than beat the crap out of myself like I used to do, what I realize is that's what letting go is. It's a process, and it's a practice of how many times am I going to, if it's really a problem, if I'm really needing to let go of a particular response I have or a particular belief that I have, and I'm going to want to put it down, it's like, I mean, if I do it and it's easy, then I probably didn't have, it probably was no big deal. But the truth is the fact that I pick this up without even knowing it again, and I pick it up no matter what. And sometimes I'd even put it down just like that and say, I'll just let it go. And you go like, no, you didn't. So I want to teach you guys something another client of mine taught one of my groups decades ago. And I love this, and I forget about it, but I'm remembering it right now, and I want to show you this. What he said, it was about letting go, and what he uses hands and basically gripping your hands. So, and the idea is you can actually you can do this exercise, and if you're willing to do it, I want you to do it with me for a minute. It's like it's you can actually think of something that you're holding on to too tight, do that. But what I also find is even if I do it without without content, I still experience what you're going to see in just a minute is the resistance to letting go. It's like, and the instruction is very simply, you hold your fist about as tight as you think you're holding on to whatever this is. Or just if you're doing the generalized version like I'm doing right now, it's like just how much I tend to hold on to shit, And okay, what we're going to do is we're not going to take the full time to do this because it actually takes quite a bit of time. It's a great, by the way, Roger, in group, it's a great time killer. It takes up lots of time, and if you're getting close to the end of group and you just had it, this is a great exercise to do. But what you're going to do is you're going to anybody can do this. Okay, that's easy. It's like what you're going to do is you're going to breathe. I think close your eyes is a good idea. You don't have to, but it's like, and you're going to just really, really slowly begin to relax your hands and just really slowly. And I can't emphasize that enough. Just begin to open your hands slowly. And I may be wrong. I mean, I haven't done an inventory or a survey of this, but it's like when I think a lot of people I have talked to, like what I feel every time I do that is I could feel resistance. I feel when my hands get a little bit out, there's a push that wants to push him back in. It wants to push it back in, and it's like, and if you don't have that, that's great. It's like, but that resistance makes sense to me given my personality and what my history. And so, but the meditation this guy showed us was just to do that very slowly. It's a very conscious conscious way of letting something go. And you do it, and I'm going to do fast forward. You do it slowly until you're sitting there with your hands all the way open. It's like, and just if you do it and take time and you let it find its own time frame, I mean, you're going to feel it's just going to bring some shit up. It's going to be an experience that you'll find some stuff in there. And anyway, but anything to me that we can do that helps us remember that, things like that letting things go is not easy. It's a chore, and it's like we got to work on it. Okay, last thing I want to do is I made a list. I don't make this very often, but Alan in the book talks about that Viktor Frankl quotation of as far as when you were looking at coming up with novel solutions, that living in the space between stimulus and response. When something happens, and it's really, we could fit it into my little EIO thing too, but it's like, but we're not going to change our reflexes. I've said that here a lot. We're not going to, the reflex is the same. It's like, it's like if something tends to scare the crap out of me, it's probably always the first, and it's going to scare the crap out of me. But I can do something next. I don't, that's the new possibility that Alan talks about. It's like, I cannot emphasize enough that we do not get rid of anything, nothing, everything that we have. I want to, I got to get rid of this thought. I got to get rid of this addiction. It's like, and we use that language. I'll use it sometimes and say, I got to quit thinking that way. It's like, but ultimately we don't do that. What we do is, you don't get rid of a bad habit. You basically create a better habit. And it really is no two objects occupy the same space at the same time. And you practice that habit until it nudges the other one out of that space. And it'll be right there, just like I've spoken in this group all the time, just like my alcoholism that I call Tequila Boy is always on my committee. He sits in the corner, wears a Hawaiian shirt and a flowered lei and has an empty martini glass. And he's he's like everybody's addiction, he's an opportunist. So if there's stress or if there's something that happens that he sees just the slightest opportunity, he sneaks up on me, and oh Jesus, it's like it gets you like that. And it's like, and I got to be aware of that. But I distracted myself with Tequila Boy. Is that so? But I may need to make a call, Roger. It's like, it's like let me go get into the list. Okay, while we're living in the space between stimulus and response, there's no comprehensive list here of things, but here are some things to keep in mind. Okay. When you're learning new habits, when you're doing this new stuff and you're working on doing things differently, way I learned to call them was postmortem inventories. Basically a situation, I mean, and I think that the language came from some relapse programs that I've worked with before, where they basically say, let's do a postmortem on the relapse. And basically what we're doing is we're looking through the timeline and trying to find out how far back could we it's not a should for what I should have done, but how far back in the future can I get to where I'm going to be able to intervene and do something much, much, much earlier. So that's part of what we're going to do those. But I mean, we can do those. It doesn't have to be big things. It can just be the little shit. It's like, and just, okay, my goal every day is to be the best version of myself that I can be. And that definition that I use of that is I want to take good care of myself, and I want to be of service to other people. Okay. So if I feel like I've screwed some of that up, then rather than beat the crap out of myself, what I want to do is I want to go back through and walk through it and see what I can learn from the postmortem inventory. That leads immediately to something that I've talked about a lot here. I think more on the podcast, but it's like measure your progress. Measure your progress in response time. It's not like if I never react the way I used to, but all the time. It's like I've always, but a lot of times it's a matter of like, it used to take me forever to recognize that I had screwed something up and that I needed to do something about it. And that was mine. And, and I mean, it can still do that. There's going to be times like that, but it's amazing how much better it feels for me when I screw something up. That there's most of the time I know it very, very quickly. And I can, I have this communication 101 list or article that I give to my couples and do that. And there's one of the tools on that thing is just simply just to basically take two. I have one of those movie, whatever they're called, Patrick could tell us, those little clacker things, and I'll put it up in front of the couple and say, okay, let's try that communication different, but do that differently. Matter of fact, not long ago, I had a couple I've known for a little while, and I said, okay, stop that. I said, let's do that same scene. I want you to use your same lines. And when I say action, I want you to do the exact same thing. Only I looked at the guy and said, only this time, don't play it as an asshole. I made the point we know each other pretty well, so he did beautifully. It's like he said, okay, I got it's like and he did it, and he just played it straight. He didn't do wasn't an asshole, and it's like, and just little things like that you can go back and you can take it. It's almost like give occasionally giving yourself a mulligan. It's like just saying, look, I can do a do-over there. So that's the four more things on the list. Tough love, not condemnation. It's like tough love is, when people don't want to do inner child work so often, it's because they don't want to do the stuff that says, oh, I love you so much. You're a little sweetheart. Now and you're a wonderful little child of God. And it's like, I always tell people, like, people who teach you how to do that stuff, I mean, it can be great for some people. But what I would say is those people, I don't think they've ever hated themselves. And those of us who have really hated ourselves, that's gonna put us back a little bit. It's like, so what I say is the most expression of love in my life, within my intrapersonally, to discipline myself, I mean, and I don't mean discipline like punishment, but to create some discipline in my life is tough love. It's like it's a voice that cusses as much as I do, but I always know it's on my side. It's not like when the should monster's doing it, is get up, get over there and do that thing, you lousy, no good son of a bitch. It's like, with the inner parent and the tough love with the inner child, it's like, or just a vulnerable part of myself. It's like, no, you need to get up and do that. And I can feel that energy that's tough. And ultimately, we can talk about that some other time too. I'm kind of fascinated with that. It's interesting when you find that inner parent part. It usually is not that invested in whether or not the other part follows through. It's like it really is just doing its job to remind you and tell you that it's up to you what you're going to do. Three more real quick. One of them I did the other night when I summarized Alan's thing. It's just lighten up. Don't take yourself too seriously. He talks about that in this chapter as well. I have a disclaimer in my office that says, when you walk in the office, the therapy room, it says, just because I think everything is hilarious doesn't mean I'm not taking you seriously. And that's the absolute truth. I tell people all the time, you will not get any shame in talking to me. You're just not going to get it. It's like, and it's hard to believe for some people, but I also tell them in that same little pitch, I will make fun of you because I can't help it. But remember, the word fun is in there. It's like, I love being playful about some of this stuff, but there is no and basically, if somebody, by the way, the caveat to that is, if somebody was having trouble telling the difference between my making fun and being playful and shaming them, I basically wouldn't do that. I'll just say this last one: look for opportunities to practice any of this stuff. Don't avoid problems, solve problems. And see situations as opportunities, rather than thinking, I want to get through the day with no bumps. It's like, no, we want to get through the day and have some adversity, have some things happen, so that we can practice our new ways of being. So that's all I got. I went too long, didn't I, Roger?
You went as long as you needed to, and there was a lot of good content there, Tom.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is Herb with us tonight? Herb, are you there?
Herb's got a girlfriend. Herb's got a girlfriend.
No Herb tune.
All right.
No,
So
no Herb.
thank you for that, Tom. I just I love the idea of your lists that you talked about early on, the what worked list.
Mhm.
'Cause I like this chapter. Like I had texted you earlier, it doesn't lend itself to me as immediately to doing presentations about it, but
Mhm.
it's such an important part of life, right? It's such an important idea of how do I figure out ways to do something different than I usually do, something that's going to work better. If my typical response pattern is passivity or withdrawal or aggression or numb neutrality or whatever it is, how do I help myself discover new or novel solutions to my problems? And it's a real dilemma for most of us because, like you said, we will cling to our very well learned, response patterns, no matter how ineffective and self defeating and relationship defeating they actually are.
Well, I
We
never
will,
thought about it, but it's like you're talking about giving ourselves permission to think on our feet, or really even giving ourselves permission to do a little improv.
well, that's another way to say it is doing improv,
Hmm.
because Alan talks a lot about the paradoxes of trying to integrate our left brain, which is our more logical brain and our language centered brain for most of us,
Hmm.
and the right brain, which is more spatial oriented, more creatively oriented, a lot less language oriented. How the paradoxes of how to bring those two parts of our mind together. So what I wanted to invite people to do tonight, and I think I'll be doing the lead presentation next week, so I can talk more about this. But I want you to each think about a problem situation, a pattern you were having in a relationship with a friend or your spouse or a child, um, where you were locked into a rigid way of responding, right? Either just chronically critical or judgmental, or chronically kind and accepting, but that wasn't helping. Either, I mean, where my way of responding is just not working. But think back to situations in your life, each of you, where either over the course of time, you don't respond in the same way now that you did 5 years ago, or maybe even 6 months ago, or 20, for those of us who are a bit older or a lot older, 20 or 34 years ago. At some point in that process, you discovered a solution that was a novel solution for you. You made a change. Probably not nearly as quickly as you hoped you would, or nearly as, whatever as you might have hoped or shoulded yourself about you should. But at the point that change first happened, that was a novel solution for you. So it's not like we don't know anything about novel solutions. With any kind of problem we have, it can be mundane, or it can be stuff I know nothing about, like car engines or plumbing or electrical or whatever. We are all the time, I think, learning solutions in some areas. And in other areas, we are holding on to the old ways that we can even know don't work very well, but we don't know how to change them. And Alan gives an example of this with what he decided to do with the theater tickets that it turned out that they couldn't use. Because this is what happens for us, and he makes it so clear. He points out two ways he could have gone in this situation, the example he gives in the chapter. He could have beaten the crap out of himself for not investigating the conditions. He wanted to take his daughter and wife to a musical. It turned out she was too young to go. So these very expensive tickets he'd gotten for the three of them, they could not use them. And he tried the left brain approach. He tried to ask if they could be refunded, the logical approach, right? He tried to think about maybe they could be scalped, but there was a security person outside to try to prevent, scalping from taking place. He tried everything his logical brain could come up with. But at least in that situation, and Alan would acknowledge there are lots of situations where he hasn't had the presence to do this, but he didn't get caught by his disappointment, by his feelings of sadness for his daughter that she was so excited about seeing Wicked, I think it was, or some musical in Hollywood. He didn't get caught with self-blame and with beating the crap out of himself, that he hadn't investigated further the, criteria for the tickets and for the show than he had. So that's one place that we often get caught, is in endless self-blame and endless self-criticism. The second place we get caught, and this has to do with your EIEIO, is we get caught with our emotional reactions to the situation. And we get pulled into it, or we dive into it, and we're not gonna, we can't find a way out. Or often we don't want to find a way out for a while, because we just want to be pissed off, or we want to make the theater wrong, or lots of different situations, whatever, the other person wrong, depending on the situation. But for some reason, he was able to be in that space between stimulus, being told they weren't going to be able to see the musical production, and his response, where they went across the street to the coffee shop, and it just happened that there was another man and his girlfriend there and their daughter who wanted to go see that musical. It was right across the street. And Alan went and offered the tickets to them. They weren't going to be able to do so. And he tells the whole story in the chapter. You can read it if you have the book. But it turned out to be an incredible gift that he was able to give to this guy and his girlfriend and his daughter, because he was about to leave town for months, I think, to go work on an oil rig or something. And they desperately wanted to see this musical, but no tickets were available. So the challenge for us is to realize it's not like I don't know anything about this. I have found solutions to some problems in my life, a fight that I'm having. I can make an amends with somebody, or, that time I didn't react the way I typically do. I found a way to do something different. I didn't get all bent out of shape because, a person looked at me that way or said that to me. So that's what we want to help build on, I think. So what I want you to think about between now and next week is, what if some of those novel solutions for me, and like Thom said, we are each different. Solutions will vary for each one of us. What if some of those novel solutions been for me that have either just come to me, or I've seen somebody else do and I took it from them, right? Or I asked somebody for help and they helped me figure it out. Or I just thought it through and figured out a new solution, a new way of responding for myself. I want you to reflect on that between now and next week. What are some of the areas where I have successfully found novel solutions, something that worked better than what I've been doing historically? And what are some situations that I'm still struggling with in my life that I've not been able to find solutions for that are satisfying to me? And a good incomplete sentence to do with this would just be, what a new solution to this problem I might try could be, or what a new solution to this problem might be is, and just write a bunch of endings to that. Or something I might try in response to this problem is, and just let your subconscious take over from them. Let it write 6 to 10 endings, short endings to that. And then look at those and see which ones might you go like, yeah, maybe I could try that. Maybe in small steps.
Roger, you're also adding a new piece to this, for me anyway. That is, that I never thought of, is using hindsight this is what you're describing, is you actually can become your own role model. It's like you're talking about using hindsight to actually identify when this has happened before, because what you're the emphasis you're pointing out is these are not going to happen because you're going to go like, I'm gonna have a novel solution. Now I'm gonna sit here and get a novel. Oh, I got a novel solution. It's like it doesn't work that way. It's like you will have done something outside your normal box,
Yeah.
and it will have worked. And something, you know, and you go like, you look back. So I love the idea of people, all of us looking back, because when you said that, I thought of some examples of that immediately that came from my own life.
Well, it brings up your list of what works. It's very akin to that.
Yeah.
But I want us to think about, well, how did I come to that? Do I understand the process of it all, how I arrived at that solution for that problem? Because if we can understand our process, there might be ways we can utilize that same process. So it's 8 o'clock. I know it's time for us to finish for tonight. Thom, can you come back in, please, with neck brace and all? I know we're over time. Any thoughts you wanted to add, Thom, before you close us out?
Well, I love the idea of, what Thom just mentioned, like, it's not like I could force myself into coming up with a novel solution. It's almost like, and I think Alan talked about this too, it's like, somehow detaching or just stepping back or getting distracted, and letting it marinate, instead of, my previous attempts at brute force, solving a problem, letting spirit or intuition kind of enter into the process. It's usually where things arise for me.
And I don't have a chance to respond. Julia, I just saw your chat, and yes, I will try to speak next week to how do I let go of those emotional reactions that can take such profound and deep control of me. I will try to give some practical suggestions around that. It's not easy, as we all know, but thank you, Julia, for that request. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I apologize to the group. I had to tighten up security as we were getting some shady characters joining, shadier than normal. Yeah.
I was going to say, quit talking about me, man. It's like, it's like.
So I had to cut out on the unmuting in the chat and stuff. So thank you both for a wonderful discussion. Thom, for leading this week. Alan will be back from Paris soon, and Roger will be leading the discussion next week. So looking forward to furthering this process of unpacking this chapter. So let's just close off with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant us serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Does someone need to believe in God to successfully overcome addiction? Well, the way I like to think about what the program does, it connects us to who we really are. And what does that mean? Well, there's this incredible force in you and I, this growth force. It's the force that moved us from crawling to walking. You wanted to take those first steps. And when you fell, and you fell a lot of times, you didn't let your failures stop you. You picked yourself up, you learned from it. And how many times did you fail before you walked? You failed as many times as you needed to. You see, that force, I call it a biological imperative, a psychological imperative, a spiritual imperative. It's moving you towards wholeness. It's moving you to be what you can be. Just like in the acorn is all the information it needs to become an oak tree. In you is all the information you need to become you. Become a you that can cope with life and to deal with whatever you need to deal with to be okay. And that's what I'll talk about in my new book, The 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety.